good morning, and happy Monday. It's Brenda Meller bringing you my LinkedIn live show I call Social Media Pie because I bring on inspiring people to inform and educate you. Yes, pie here is an acronym, and that's part of my brand. And I am so delighted because I've got a very special friend with me here today, Annette Richmond. Annette, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here with you, Brenda.
Well, I am delighted for this conversation. And as we are getting started with the live broadcast, I want to invite our viewing audience, whether you're watching us live right now or in playback, if you see there's a ticker running below, could you please drop us a comment and let us know that you're watching? Just let us know where in the world you're watching from, if you could. And that's kind of the equivalent of me tapping my microphone and saying, is this thing on? And the people in the back letting us know that, yes, they can hear us, right, Annette?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm getting an error message from StreamYard saying Facebook is not live streaming, but I think the LinkedIn should be up. I'm just going to flip it in my window in the background here. Sometimes it's interesting how, LinkedIn's going fine. Sometimes it's interesting how you don't know on stream. I think you use StreamYard too, don't you, Annette?
I do. And sometimes that happens.
Yeah. So live things happen sometimes. I mean, the good thing, I do this on 3 networks, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And every now and again, I've had a situation where the LinkedIn live doesn't pick up and people are like messaging me, where's the live stream? So I'll grab the YouTube link and then I will post that on LinkedIn and say, go over to YouTube and watch it. So it's good to have a couple networks. Facebook's not working, but LinkedIn looks like it's working. So I'm going to assume everybody is just kind of getting their Monday started, like you and I, Annette. We were joking, I kind of said I was running 5 minutes late this morning. We're coming off of Halloween here in my household. A little bit of a sugar high and a hard morning to get everybody out of the house. But nonetheless, we are ready to go. And I see we have Louise is saying, yep, she's watching us from England. So thank you so much, Louise. So before we get into this conversation, guys, about personal branding, I want to just introduce you all to Annette. And she and I have crossed paths many, many times through LinkedIn, Clubhouse, and I invited her to a LinkedIn Live-a-thon a few months back. Was it a couple months back? Last month, 2 months ago.
It was September. Well, September, so it's 2 months now. We're officially November today.
Technically, right? Happy November. So I know a little bit about you. I'd like you, if you could, Annette, to take a few minutes, tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business is all about.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I guess I would say I'm primarily a resume and LinkedIn profile writer. I work with senior level executives who are, looking for a new opportunity. I also work with a lot of entrepreneurs and consultants who want to build up their LinkedIn profile and work with all of my clients to help them, sort of enhance their brand on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is such a great place to, find a new job. And, that's pretty much what I do. But I have to say that my real job is to help my clients really recognize and own their awesomeness because people so often just do not recognize how cool and wonderful they actually are.
Absolutely. Well, I am delighted to have you on, and Annette and I share a love and a passion of LinkedIn, and you guys probably heard that in her introduction. And today's conversation is actually centered around your brand. And I know, Annette, when you're working with clients, whether you're working with corporate clients or people who are in career transition, looking for their next opportunity, any of those things, it's really important to have a strong personal brand. And at the top, we're saying, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. I mean, let's be honest, over the past year and a half, not a lot of us have been in the room with each other because we've been virtual.
Absolutely.
So let's have this conversation. I mean, does this also apply to what people think and say about us when we're online, or is it just an in-person thing when we talk about personal brand?
Oh, I think it's everywhere, Brenda. I think it's everywhere. And, you can't control what people are saying about you, but you can certainly influence, what they see and hear about you. And a lot of it is what people read. If they're seeing you on LinkedIn, if they're reading the things that you're commenting, if they're seeing you on Clubhouse or other social media, or if they're seeing you, at a networking event, it's who they perceive you to be. And it's based on so many things. There are one-on-one interactions with you, the things they read that you have, published, posted, and also, of course, what other people are saying about you.
Right, absolutely. And I think you made a really good point. You can't control what they say, but you can influence what they pick up from you in terms of the content and things that you're putting out. And it reminds me a little bit. There's I think it was in the show Mad Men. You know, the scene Don Draper's talking to, I can't remember her name, Peggy, I think it was, and he's like, if you don't like what they're saying about you, change the conversation. Um, let's give them a narrative, let's give them content. In the LinkedIn world, it's let's post differently so that we're creating that framework that people are drawing conclusions from. And there may be people watching today, Annette, that are like, personal branding, that's a very scary sounding thing, or I'm not a marketer, I'm not like a corporate person. um what is my personal brand, and how do I create it and shape it? What are your thoughts there?
Well, personal branding, although it seems in a way like it's a fairly new idea. I read my first book on personal branding. I think it was in the early 2000s, like maybe 2003 or 2004. And it's it sounds really I don't know, maybe simple to say it, but it's kind of like who you are on the on the world stage, which is LinkedIn, in your personal spaces. But it's the things that you talk about, the way that you talk about them. We are both in business, and so of course we work with clients, but we're not on social media
Mhm.
spamming people with our message, spamming people constantly. We are trying to share information and help people and educate people. And I think that that is part of the perception that people have of us, is that we are out there trying to share and inform, and we're not we're not trying to constantly pitch people. I I hope that that's a good explanation of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and you might, I mean, sometimes I think too, it helps to hear stories and examples from people. So could you give us an example of how somebody, I'm going to say in career transition, because there's probably some job seekers watching this right now. If I'm in career transition and maybe I've never posted on LinkedIn, or I've never really been active online, what advice would you give them about creating that brand that's going to help them to land that next job?
Well, obviously there's so many things to do on LinkedIn. What I would suggest is, if you are looking for a job, let's say you're looking for a job in marketing,
Mhm.
and you have a few companies that you're interested in working with or working for. So you might want to find people that work at those companies,
Mhm.
follow them. If they are posting content, you would begin by commenting on their posts. Something thoughtful, not just, oh, sounds awesome, but thoughtful comment that shows your expertise. So that's what I would recommend. The overall is to be on LinkedIn sharing your expertise. So
Mhm.
that might be commenting on other people's posts, which I think is a great way to start. There are thousands, millions of people on LinkedIn, recruiters, people in senior level positions in different industries. So that's a great way. You can also share your own content, which doesn't necessarily mean that you have to write a LinkedIn article or something like that.
Right.
But you might want to find articles that would be of interest to people in your industry and share those as a status update with your thoughts on the article. I'm posting this because I read about this industry trend and I think things are definitely moving that way. And here's why. And read the article to find out more information, that type of thing.
I love it. And I think that too, Annette, does a little bit to help. It creates thought leadership, even though you didn't write the original article. When you're commenting on it, you're commenting from a place of knowledge, as an expert, or somebody who has some knowledge of, let's say, marketing, for example. You're commenting on the article from a marketer's perspective, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I love that you brought up Mad Men, because, we watch that religiously in this house. My husband
Mhm.
used to work in advertising. And, companies put out advertising, showing, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, toothpaste. Let's say Crest toothpaste is out there with, or Coca-Cola is out there with all these ads showing you, how cool it is and how wonderful it's going to be if you drink Coca-Cola. But, it's really what you think when you drink the product, or when other people are talking about it, that is what you believe. The ad may get your attention, but it's your interaction with that product that really is what the brand is to you.
Absolutely. And I just shifted our view, Annette, and I want to talk a little bit about online brand as well. And one thing I noticed is like when I shifted my view, it looks like I just sat down lower in a chair. So I'm going to adjust my camera right now. I have to figure out how to do this. I think you have to move your camera. I think it's like the opposite of what I want it to be.
I know. It's really weird.
It's like these are the little things I do sometimes on my videos, you guys. I don't make mistakes. I have learning experiences, and I just had a learning experience, which was test the video height position before we get started, because you don't want to do this in the middle of video, or if you do in the middle of video, you got to break your script and tell people what you're doing. I think I don't mind doing it, because I think sometimes people, they need to understand the behind the scenes things. And related to that, you and I are both using StreamYard. You and I are both big fans of Canva, right?
Yes.
And, I think personal branding, it's not just who you are and what you say, but I think sometimes it's elements that you create in Canva. Would you agree with that, Annette?
Of course.
So, tell people, like, there's people watching that have heard of Canva, have never used it. And by the way, this is not a paid endorsement or anything, but Annette and I are both big fans. So tell us, like, what are the benefits of using a tool like Canva, and how could job seekers use it in their efforts?
Well, thanks for saying that. Yes, we both love Canva, but we're not affiliated with them in any way. But, you can create graphics. Canva is a very intuitive, user-friendly platform. They have a free version, that you can use. And you can create something like an infographic. If you want to share some thoughts that you have, you can go to Canva and create an infographic where you are sharing some thoughts. Say if you're in marketing, we'll just kind of hang with that, because I think most people are familiar with marketing. You can go in, they have templates, infographic templates, and you can pick one and share, maybe the 5 things you need to remember for, when you're creating a marketing campaign, which gives you an opportunity to share your expertise, use a visual. Visuals are always great because so many of us learn visually. Others prefer to hear it. There's different learning styles. So this is perfect. So it could be top 3 campaign, must-haves. And
Ooh, I love it.
And then you can just share different thoughts about that. Maybe one is to identify your demographic, and excuse me.
Look at this, we're building as we're talking.
I know. I love it. You are so cool, Brenda. You were just so way ahead of me on this. So,
but look how easy it is. I typed in infographic. I found an infographic, and then it's almost like a PowerPoint, right? Like where you just kind of type over. Text is layered with photos, and then you just build it. How easy is this, right?
And easier, I think easier than PowerPoint, really. Yeah. Because you can pop pictures in and out, and it's just not it's just not difficult at all. I struggle sometimes with PowerPoint, but Canva, and it really allows you to be creative. And personally, I enjoy that. I think most people do. When you have the opportunity to, that's another thing too. Of course, it shows your creativity. Mm-hmm. So you are sharing your thoughts. That's a little bit of thought leadership. You are showing your creativity. You are using a visual to get people's attention. So, it's kind of a all around good move, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know who first told me about it. I kind of tell people it's like graphic design for dummies. I'm not a dummy, but I use it all the time. What I mean by that is I am not a Photoshop illustrator type of a person. Like I like this because it's like it's for everyone. And if you Google like Canva tutorials, they give you lots of great videos and freebies and stuff like that to work from. But it's a really cool tool.
It is. And I just want to mention too, if you create something once, you have the template and you can just change it up.
Yeah, and related to that, let me show you guys this. So in the beginning of the phone call, like remember how I said I was running like 5 minutes late on everything
Uh-huh.
this morning? So I was as we were joining our conversation here today, Annette, I was like literally in the background creating my intro video. I'm gonna put this on screen. I think it's on right now. So as Annette, we're doing I usually have my guests join me 10 minutes before we go live. So we kind of chat a little bit, test the technology, and I was going through and building my countdown ticker. And it's literally once you get the hang of Canva, it's like copy and paste, copy and paste. It's super easy to do. So, um, you know, once you have those templates, like you said, you can go back. I have a template. It's called StreamYard intro video. I just
Mhm.
go back in here and copy and paste the topic and the name of the person each time. And it helps to create like what I do in these videos. I create a bookend. I have an intro video, I have an outro video, and in the middle, you'll see, we've got the branding elements, the pink, magenta, and everything that's coming up in there. Even on screen, I've got the pink, and every now and again, I have somebody on with me, Annette, who has like a red background. And the red and the pink don't go, so then I've got
Oh,
to flip the elements out of there.
the thing is too that I think you sort of showed it because people saw the intro, but Canva has a lot of built-in animations because I
Yeah,
create things and I post them on LinkedIn and they're animated and people are like, oh, how did you do that? And people think, oh, I'm so smart. Well, Canva has the animations built right into it.
yeah.
It's in many, many of the templates. So
It's a very slick tool. I love it. So let's change gears a little bit. We've been talking about job seekers for a while. Let's talk about somebody who's working, and some thoughts there on maybe they've really never focused on personal branding. Maybe they're at their point in their career where they either want to start building a brand because they're positioning themselves for an exit from corporate into
mhm,
consulting,
mhm.
or maybe midpoint in their career, they're thinking about making a pivot, or maybe they want to position themselves for a leadership role within their organization. Any thoughts on what they may think about doing differently with regards to content with LinkedIn, or just thoughts in general there?
Well, I'd like to just mention a couple things, and particularly since we've just been talking about Canva, is to
Sure.
make sure that your LinkedIn profile itself is giving the image that you want it to. So you want to have a background photo. You can create that, customize something in Canva for that, something that is going to reflect your brand, that is going to also make you look savvy. If you are working, and I talk to people, I know you do too, Brenda, who
Mhm.
think of LinkedIn as kind of, you said it, you forget it, you don't
Yeah.
worry about it. They may hire somebody like, you or me to create that profile and they put it up there and that's the end of it. But you want to make sure that you are using all of the features, the background photo,
Mhm.
the headshot. I know people talk a lot about getting that professional headshot. I like to change things up. So my headshots are all sort of taken in our den here. My husband takes them on my iPhone.
Nice.
So back to Canva, you can just eliminate the background, whatever the background is,
Mhm.
and use that headshot and have whatever background that you like. But so I would recommend that if you are thinking of looking for a job, and now that people are hearing that it's the candidates market, a lot of those passive job seekers are coming out and becoming active job seekers. So you really want to set yourself apart. So I would say the features, use everything on LinkedIn. We can talk a little
Mhm.
bit about cover story if you like.
Yeah, tell
And
let me go back to your profile, and I want you guys to watch Annette's headshot photo. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna just refresh my page here real quick. I'm gonna take Leonard's comment off the screen. Hey, Leonard, good morning. Let me just flip this and just watch her headshot photo. Watch what happens here. This is such a cool thing. Somebody told me this was kind of like Harry Potter. I've not seen the Harry Potter movies, like
I
the
know, I know,
portraits in the hall. They start talking when you move by them or something.
I
But
don't
then
know.
if you, it gives us, what is it, a 3 second preview, Annette, on that?
It's 30 seconds
But when
or
you first,
29, really.
yeah, but when you
Oh, the
first landed
preview.
on it, like
Oh,
right
I'm
now,
sorry. I think, yeah, I don't know, a couple of seconds, maybe
3 seconds,
3 seconds. It's not
and then
long, but
yeah, and then if I want to
Thanks for
watch the whole thing,
stopping
I
by
just
my
bring it up.
profile. I help my clients recognize, convey, and own their awesomeness. I do this by creating compelling executive resumes and LinkedIn profiles. If you're not getting the results you expect, we probably should chat. Follow me for job search tips, career advice, and to find out when my LinkedIn Lives go live.
That's awesome. And I love because you can kind of see the ticker along the top, and it shows you how much the video is playing and how much you have left on there.
Yeah.
Now, what did you use fancy equipment to do that, Annette, or how did you film that?
Oh yes, such fancy equipment. I use that free. I use the free iPhone app Clips to
Yeah.
do where there are so many of them. I use Clips. I
Mhm.
know a lot of people use Clip Champ. There's I forget the one for iPhone. I think it's Voicella. I'm not sure on that. And there's so many of these apps where you can record, edit, caption all in the
Yeah.
same little app, and it's free. And that is something that people should remember, that often when people are looking at LinkedIn,
Mhm.
they may be at work, the sound will be off, so you have to make sure that you have those captions. But it's I think a lot of and going back to the whole idea of branding is
Yeah.
differentiating yourself, setting
Mhm.
yourself apart from other people doing similar things. If you are job seeker, the director of marketing at say Adidas is doing kind of the same thing as the director of marketing at Nike.
Mhm.
But what sets you apart is the things that you've done that have an impact. But it's also when people look at your profile and they see the background photo and the cover story, and they get to really learn about you. And I think that can make a big difference.
So let me ask you too, because I think your personal brand, like sometimes people feel like it has to be very corporate-y and stiff and things like that. But I mean, you can really, if you're a corporate employee, yeah, maybe it makes sense to have a branded header or something like that in there. But I think there's ways that we can invoke some personal elements, right, Annette? And I use pie as part of my
I know.
personality.
I love your pie. And one of the things that is so great about your headline, when the
Yeah.
headline, people should remember the headline follows them. So if they are commenting on
Mhm.
someone else's post, I forget how many characters is it before it's cut off?
220. Well, 220 total, but it depends on the device you're using. It can be between 40 to 60 characters, and that's
Okay.
desktop, mobile, tablet, there's different. So, I mean, I say 40 to 50. What I recommend though is people, like I say, look at yourself in mobile view and see where it cuts off. Look at yourself in the desktop view and see where it cuts off, because it does kind of vary up, but focusing on that, I think, yeah, it can be important.
Well, and, when people see pie, when they see
Yeah.
that pie, they know it's you. I mean, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I hope I mean, my goal is it's creating a little bit of a conversation starter, and it's kind of like breaks the mode of corporate speak, think, and it, like, you see a pie, and I hope, and my goal is, like, when you see a pie, you think of me. And not in a way that's like, oh, that LinkedIn person, like you think of
Right,
it like,
right,
oh,
right.
like I get, from now, and by the way, everyone, it's now officially pie season. So from now until the end of the year, I expect if you see a pie meme or photo or something funny regarding pie, message it to me on LinkedIn. If you have my cell phone, text it to me. Because I share those out with people. I post them on social media, and it's fun. It's a fun brand element. So how can people use things that are more conversational? And I see, like, you've got some emojis in your headline. I mean, what are your thoughts there on it? Does that become part of our brand too?
Well, I think it's a great way to stand out and to get some attention. I mean, I want people to know that I'm on Clubhouse so they
Yeah.
can come, and the beginning, I want people to know that my business focus is to be sort of quality over quantity, and I'm very direct when I talk to people about the way I do what I do. But I think it's a great way to highlight different areas. I think it's also good to use in the about section.
Mhm.
Obviously you don't want to have it overkill, over full of emojis, but I think it can help you stand out. Plus, it can be kind of boring to look at text.
Yeah.
And I think something can help you stand out a little bit, or, to catch someone's eye. And I think that that's important. I do resumes and LinkedIn profiles, but I think that you always want to, whether you are looking for a job or you are a consultant, entrepreneur, moving in that direction, you want to make sure that you are catching people's attention, because as you know, when people are searching and they're looking for, let's say they're looking for someone to do SEO,
Yep.
and they're searching for someone to do that on LinkedIn, it's your headline and your photo that's going to make them want to click on your profile to learn more about you. The same thing is if you are a job seeker. Recruiters, I was a recruiter for a couple of years, and they spend hours, looking for candidates.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that great profile, you just may not get their attention.
Yeah. That's very, very true. And a lot of people, like you said too, they kind of set it and forget it. They set up their LinkedIn profile initially, and then they completely forget about it until they have to make a job move, and then they're in a panic mode. They don't want to like set off any red flags, to make it look like they're looking for a job. And I usually tell people to gradually lean into it and first be a good brand ambassador for your company. So get your profile updated so you look current with your company. And then to your earlier point, Annette, start commenting on people in the homepage feed. It's a nice way of slowly getting up on the on-ramp to LinkedIn, right, so to speak. And we've talked about a couple of things today that people can do. Let's shift the gears a little bit. Let's flip this over the other side. Let's talk about mistakes that people can make with regards to personal branding. And I think one was not doing anything or neglecting your personal brand, right?
Yes.
Thoughts on other, like, what not to do or mistakes that people might be making as it relates to personal branding?
Well, I think sometimes a mistake that I see, and if someone is really branding, they haven't touched LinkedIn in years, they may not do this. If they are, they've been starting to be active on LinkedIn for the past maybe 3 months, they may decide that they're ready to post information, go beyond the commenting and start tagging people who they want to attract.
Yes.
So let's say if I'm in marketing and I find a post on marketing trends for 2022, and I share that in my status update. And I know that, oh, Brenda Meller, so she's VP of marketing at a company I'm interested in. So I'm going to tag her, and I'm going to tag a bunch of people because I want them to come and make sure that they see me. And it will cause people to see you, but not remember you in a good way.
Right. Well, in this case, let's say this is not Brenda Meller who's hosting you, because you're my friend, Annette, and I feel like we've crossed paths so many. If you were to tag me in a post, I would comment back, because we have this reciprocal, I don't want to even say an agreement. It's kind of like, I help you, you help me. I help you because I enjoy helping you, not because I'm expecting you to return the favor. And I think the same thing, if you see something that I'm posting that's relevant to you, you'll comment back. So occasionally, if I tag you on something, because I'm doing it to try to get more reach, I know that I've got enough that I've given into that social media bank account, that social media karma bank account, where I can take a withdrawal and tag you, right?
Oh, absolutely. And and I was talking about strangers. So
right.
and I'm glad that you bring that up, that it's the same thing as people who are in mailing recruiters and saying, oh, do you have a job for me? You would not go to a live. I mean, I think of LinkedIn as kind of like this big water cooler where people are all there engaging, learning about each other.
Yeah.
And you would not go to a live networking or even a virtual networking event and start saying people, oh, I right now I'm looking for a job, and do you have something for me?
Right. I just want anything, right?
Well, that's another thing, just keep your eyes open for me, like for what? But you talk about that bank, and that's a lot what it is. You want to, and that's what we've talked about too, the idea of commenting, but sharing information, and not just sharing it with the hopes that people are going to see you, and but to actually share some knowledge, something that might be of interest to other people. Because I think there's so much talk about being authentic, and it kind of gets that almost a bad rap, like networking.
Right.
But it's really being who you are. And I've heard somebody say that, you know, everybody on LinkedIn is successful, everybody on Facebook is happy, everybody on Instagram is stylish. So, you know, you don't want to be portraying the persona.
Right.
You want to be you.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And, you know, going back to this whole, I think there are people that you can tag without hesitation. And I'm going to invite our viewing audience right now, whether you're watching this live or in playback, tag someone that's not going to be awkward, you know, and I want to, you know, just tag them in the comments right now and let them know that you're thinking of them as we are having a conversation about people that are in our inner circle, if you will, on LinkedIn. I mean, without hesitation, I mean, John Asperian, who's watching right now, I would tag him without hesitation. Jeff Young. And Jeff Young, sometimes it's funny because Jeff will tag me in his post. And if I don't reply back, I always do. I try to. And if I don't, he'll message me and he'll be like, the other day, a week ago or so, he did it. And he said, hey, I tagged you and you didn't respond back. Is everything okay? And like, he was worried because I mean, those are Michelle Raymond. She's another person. I mean, there's so many people that if I were to tag them, they wouldn't go, what? I mean, it helps your brand. It helps their brand. By bringing them into the conversation. So I think your point of it is like a virtual water cooler. Like, would you in the middle of a room shout across the room and say, my good friend Bill, who's in accounting, and would Bill go, me? Like, or would he be like, hey, you know, like, think about that. If you said their name across the room in a crowded full room, my good friend Bill in accounting, would Bill be like, who, me? Or would he be waving?
Yeah.
I think that's almost like a litmus test. What do you think, Annette?
No, I think that is so true. I think that is so true. You know, you have to think about the things that you do on LinkedIn. Are they welcome?
Yeah.
And again, you know, if you are, you know, but one thing to think about, and I, you know, you don't want to be pushing yourself, but if you are commenting on somebody else's post, you are thoughtfully, you know, commenting on what they're saying, but it also exposes you to their network as well.
That's true. And I think a lot of people don't know too, that when you comment on someone's post, if the post is doing really well, it's actually better to comment within the post than it is to reshare it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but then we tell them, we're like, oh, okay. But when you reshare it, it actually starts the counter back to 0. And there's actually a little bit of a penalty. So you don't get as much reach. So if you wanted to get more exposure for yourself or for that person you're commenting on, it's actually better to comment within their post. So then going back to, and that's a very early point that we talked about, you know, getting into the homepage, you know, getting into conversations with thoughtful comments. And I like to think about going to that virtual water cooler example again. And if I were to walk up to you in a room and you were to turn to me and said what you just said in your post, I wouldn't turn back to you and say, great post, thanks, and then walk away, because you'd be like, huh? Like, what just happened?
I know. Yeah. I know. And LinkedIn actually will prompt you too. If you say that you know, think something, you hit the like insightful and insight light bulb emoji, it'll say, tell them why you thought it was insightful. But yeah, that's true. And, you know, I love what you said. And I think that as well, that people think LinkedIn is, this stodgy place where everybody is just, you know, so corporate.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. I mean, you don't want to, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
You don't want to alienate people.
I mean, I'm helping Annette out while she gets her throat. It happens to me sometimes too, where you're not stuck in an interview. We enjoy being here, but you're in an interview and you get that tickle in your throat, and it's like, I can feel my throat closing up around it as you're doing that. I'll give you just a second there, but it's good to have someone who can help you. In Clubhouse, we do this a lot, don't we, Annette? Like, if you're up on stage, and I think this becomes part of your personal brand, is being helpful. Is that part of your personal brand? Like, if Annette's up on stage and I see that she doesn't, you know, there's not a lot of conversation, there's a lull, I might just raise my hand and have her bring me up and just say, hey, and she might say, what do you have to add? And I might just say, I don't really, don't really have a lot of thoughts. I love what you guys are talking about here today. I'm a big supporter of you, Annette, and I just really wanted to join in. I'm happy to stick around if you need me. I'm buying her a little bit of time, and I also sometimes will kind of rustle people up from the bushes or the crowd, so to speak. I'm going to say, and I'll do this right now on LinkedIn Live. There are probably some introverts in the audience who are watching this LinkedIn Live right now. The great thing is we can only see you when you interact. We can't see you on video. We cannot hear your audio like we can on Clubhouse. But if you are an introvert and you have never commented on a LinkedIn Live, I want you to comment below right now. Maybe you have a question for Annette about personal branding. Maybe you're a little bit nervous about asking the question. Here's the technique that I would use. I have a friend who was wondering about his LinkedIn headline, and he wants to know, should he use capitalization or lowercase? So you can use a question like that. You can use that technique. Or you can say, I was talking to someone at work the other day, and they were wondering what your thoughts are on sharing articles from my local chamber of commerce. Is that good for personal branding? So you can use that technique. I have a friend who, or I have a coworker who, or you might say, one of my bosses once told me this. What do you think? And it's a great way of getting into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We might not know if it's a friend or your coworker or your boss, and it's a way to kind of jump in there. So I'm doing that because there may be people watching right now that have never left a comment on a LinkedIn Live video. We know you're watching because I used to do the same thing. Right? Don't be shy. Join the conversation. Annette, what are your thoughts?
I'm sorry. I was going to say, it's so important what you said, just like being a part of the conversation. That's what you want. You want to be part of the conversation. And, you're talking about Clubhouse, which is a great place to meet people. And yes, I do that too. If you hear that there's sort of a lag in the conversation, you can go up on stage and, pose a question that everybody up there can answer.
Yeah.
Because people can just jump on as conversation starter. But the same thing with a comment. You can post a comment on somebody's post on LinkedIn, and that can generate conversation as well. I've seen that where somebody's commented and other people are commenting back.
Right.
And then, of course, as you mentioned, if someone does comment, make sure you reply.
It's kind of like if I turned to you and I said, wow, and that was a really thoughtful comment. I really appreciate it. It helped me a lot. And then you just like walk away. And I'm like, well, she didn't say thank you. So here's a little bit of a challenge for all of you watching as well. Think about how your comment can help to support your personal brand. And on screen right now, I just pulled it up here. A perfect example of one, John Asperian, the one, the only. Your brand is really a promise. It tells people what you're going to deliver and how you're going to make people feel. If you guys are following John, you know what I'm talking about. John is consistent in being, I think he's a relentlessly helpful LinkedIn nerd or something that he has on this.
That's it.
But he has, it used to say relentlessly helpful technical copywriter, and I think he changed it, or maybe it's in there still too. But when John comments, we see a comment that helps to, one, support the conversation that's being had. He doesn't take the conversation off to his path. He supports the conversation that's being had, but also he layers in part of his personal branding. And you'll always see that. And I see that, even on my own post, he'll sometimes add a comment and then he'll add a helpful tip along with it, or he'll add some clarification to expand on the conversation. I'm like, wow, this guy's brilliant. If you guys are not following John, you got to be following John because he does this consistently. But that's like a challenge. Whenever I would speak in like high school rooms and stuff, Annette, I would always tell students at the beginning of the class or college or whatever, I would say at the end of the lecture, I'm going to ask who has a question. Your assignment is to think of a question to ask me. So at the end, you have a question that's ready to go. So that's what, you all could do when you're watching these lives is think about a comment that you could leave that supports your personal brand. Annette, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think that's so true. As you said, you don't want to, try to sort of jump on and make a comment that's going to sort of steal that person's thunder.
Right.
But you want to, share something that you may say, yes, all the things that you said were, so important. And, I particularly like what you said about blah, blah, blah. That's something that I encourage my clients or whatever to do as well. And, John is amazing. If you are not following John Asperian, you definitely should be. But it is showing who you are, and just it's all opportunities. And
Yeah.
while I don't think people should necessarily go on to LinkedIn and think of it as a place to get opportunities, sharing information, and you never know who's going to see something. You
Yeah.
talk about people that are watching and not saying anything. There's people that will look at the things that you post, the comments you make, and you may never know until they contact you and say, oh, I'm looking for someone to do, we're hiring for a certain position. And you might be able to, you sound like you might be a possible candidate for that. And I love the idea of asking the questions. And I can say from my own experience,
Mhm.
if one person has a question, if there's 30 people or 20 people sitting there, at least 2 or 3 other people have the same question.
Yeah.
So you are helping people when you ask questions.
Yeah, see, you're helping people. I love that. You're helping people when you ask questions. You're helping the people that are hosting the speakers. You're helping them feel good, but you
Yep.
may be helping other people in the audience because everyone was like, should I ask? And then you raised your hand and you asked the question or you left
Yes.
a comment. I think that can be really helpful and beneficial for everyone. So as we start to wrap up our conversation here today, Annette, I'm going to pull your profile back up on screen. Oh, I think I navigated out of the wrong window. When you're doing this on live, sometimes it's hard to kind of navigate the right window. So let me pull up.
Oh,
Going
and
back
there we are
to
chatting.
it's the two of us. It's like Annette and Brenda magnified. So here's your profile on LinkedIn right now. We showed this a little bit earlier, but as we end our conversation, Annette, I want to have this up on screen. Are you open to accepting invitations from folks that are watching today?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
please do connect with me on LinkedIn.
And guys, I do not yet have Annette on my LinkedIn Rockstar. Yes, I said yet because she is on the cusp. I want to show you right now. She's at 5,665 followers. So once Annette hits 6,000, I want to add her to the Rockstar list. So just under, what is that, 335? Did I see that right? Did I do the math right? So once you go to the other side of that 6,000, you'll be on the Rockstar list. So hopefully you can pick up some new followers, either people that are watching the video here today or watching it in playback. So when you invite her to connect, mention that you saw this video. If there's something helpful, mention that in the invitation. And then also one other thing you could do is if you're not doing a lot of posting on LinkedIn right now, I know we talked about there's a share penalty, but it's better to share than to do nothing at all. Would you
Yes.
agree with that? Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like anything else. If you are not participating, nobody sees you.
Right. There you go. So when you're done here today, when you're done watching the video, if you enjoyed this video, whether you're watching it live or in playback, I want you to go, there'll be a share button below, click to share it, and then share it on your LinkedIn as a post and tell people something that you learned. And think about, we're talking about personal branding today. So what could you pull from this discussion here today that helps to support your personal brand? I know you can pick up an item or two. Share that along. You never know who you're going to help to reach. And you can also help Annette to reach her follower count to get into the Rockstar list.
So excited. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
That is a coveted spot. So I'm so excited.
Well, it's something where there are certain people like you. I was in the background as we were getting started today. I'm like, do I have her on the list yet? I was like, I'm not sure. And then I looked at your follower count. I'm like, nope. But I think I have you earmarked as I'm somebody I'm watching right now. And there's I try to keep people on the list that are genuinely just great people, and that you exemplify that inside and out. And the discussions we've had just show me every time we talk, I'm like, she's totally a rock star. I mean, I love talking to you. I think it's a great conversation. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I really appreciate that because I was following you and before we ever met. So thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to cross paths and to have the chance to chat with you here today. As we wrap here today, Annette, is any final comments for people? And then also tell us a little bit about where we can learn more about you.
Well, my final comment would be to do something. Look at your LinkedIn profile and, do one thing. I mean, anything can seem momentous if you look at it as a whole, but make a list and do one thing, even one thing a week. Spend 10 minutes in the morning while you're having coffee looking at LinkedIn. And the more people the more you will enjoy it because it's a pleasure for me. It's not a chore. So, please do connect with me on LinkedIn. I am on here, all the time. You could also find me on Clubhouse. My little, Smarter Career Moves is kind of like Brenda's social media pie. I have the Smarter Career Moves, LinkedIn Live, Clubhouse Club, etc. So, you can find me around.
That's great. When's your next Clubhouse event?
We do Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and actually, you'll be excited about this.
Okay.
Wednesday this week, I have Jillian Whitney and Deanna Russo on with me to talk about branding on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. What time of day on Tuesdays and Wednesdays do you go?
2 p.m., 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern.
Eastern. Okay, perfect. I will make a note in my calendar. I'm actually going to look you up on Clubhouse as soon as we get down here and make sure I'm following the club, so that way I can look at the events and add those to my calendar, because I love just earmarking them. Sometimes I can make it, sometimes I can't, but I'll try to attend, because I love those women as well. So that's great.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
Awesome. Well, Annette, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you have a great start to the rest of your Monday and a good rest of your week. It's been a delight chatting with you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Brenda. It's been just a joy to be here. Even though it is Monday morning, it's a fabulous way to start off the week.
Absolutely. We got it going. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we look forward to seeing you all on LinkedIn. Take care, and we'll see you around.
Bye.
Bye. Whoops, wrong video. Hold on. You ever do that? Like, flip the wrong video on, and you're like, should I just let it go? No,
I on again.
I don't make mistakes. I have learning experiences, and then I come back and I tell you what I did wrong. So I have an intro video, and I have one that's called outro. Let me play that for you now.